When you know Nebula of Guardians of the Galaxy is joining Superman of Man of Steel in a new project alongside Joel and also Guardians of the Galaxy alum Drax in a new project, then you know that something is really brewing. And this is the story of Karen Gillan joining Henry Cavill in the rebooted Highlander, starring also Russell Crowe and Dave Bautista. So we'll be taking a look as to the details of the production, which is slated to start shooting in September. And also, TikTok has been one of the most influential social media, if currently not even the most influential social media ever. Now, discussions are ongoing to see how influential TikTok as a platform is helping to bring audiences back into the cinemas. And last but not the least, the African giant, the musical icon and award winner, the name even it's award winner Burna Boy has debuted his first film as an executive producer, a very thrilling and chilling and action-packed film titled Three Cold Dishes. So we'll be taking a look at all these stories and more right here on the Film Mandate. My name is Paapa Otu. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to the Film Mandate, where I bring to you movie news, reviews, and reactions both from the African front and the international scene. So thanks for joining me for this very episode. So we'll be delving into our very first story. I mean, for those who know the powerful, action-packed, multifaceted actress Karen Gillan, you know for sure that he's one of the most talented Hollywood, film actress currently, not just in big franchises, but in smaller films as well. And Karen Gillan is indeed one of the most force, to reckon, one of the powerful force of an actress to reckon with. Well, not too long ago, we heard that the Highlander film, which debuted in the 80s, and one of the most exciting films that you can ever watch from back then till now, is being rebooted, and is being rebooted by none other than Chad Stahelski, who did the John Wick, movies. Well, in an article published in the Hollywood Reporter, we now know for certain that Karen Gillan is joining the Henry Cavill in Highlander remake. And there she is in the picture. So let us take a read. It says that Karen Gillan has joined the sword-swinging cast of Highlander, Amazon MGM's remake of the 1980s cult classic. Henry Cavill is leading the cast that includes Russell Crowe, Dave Bautista, and Marisa Abela. The action fantasy, which hails from Amazon MGM's United Artists banner, is being directed by Chad Stahelski and is slated for a theatrical release. Principal photography is due to begin at the end of September. The original Highlander, released in 1986, starred Christopher Lambert as Conor MacLeod and medieval Scottish Highlander who discovers he is an immortal warrior. With the help of a swordsman named Ramirez, played by Sean Connery, the titular Highlander battles other immortals across the centuries, culminating in a modern battle in which, like the classic line of dialogue goes, there can be only one. Yeah, so in the remake, Cavill is playing MacLeod while Crowe is Ramirez. Bautista is a savage warrior named the Kurgan, while industry actress Marisa Abela also has a leading role. Gillan will play Heather, MacLeod's immortal wife and the love of his life. Michael Finch wrote the script for the remake. Scott Stuber and Nick Nesbitt producing via United Artists alongside Neil H. Moritz, Stahelski's 8711 Entertainment, Josh Davis of Davis Panzer Productions, and Louisa Rosner. If successful, Gillan will may have a third franchise on her resume. The actress is best known for playing cybernetic alien Nebula in Marvel Studios' Guardians of the Galaxy and Avengers series. And she also starred in Sony's Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle and Jumanji The Next Level, with a third on the way. She can now be seen in Neon's The Life of Chuck, based on the novella by Stephen King. The film premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival, where it was honored with the People's Choice Award. Gillan is repped by UTA, Maison 2, Linden Entertainment, and Jackoway Austin. Yeah, so that is the exciting news we've heard now concerning Karen Gillan. And, you know, talking about The Life of Chuck, when you watch even the trailer, you could see this is one of the powerful films that you can ever watch. And the addition of Karen to that particular production, for me, is exciting. I haven't watched it yet, I'll be honest, but it is quite exciting. Having watched other films of hers like Jumanji, and all, when you watch the role she plays in Jumanji, her acrobatic, ability, agility, and how nimble she is. And when you watch, Guardians of the Galaxy, she playing the cybernetic Nebula. This lady has, such depth of range in terms of acting. You cannot take that away from her. She is really, really talented. And when you read other articles, it did point to the fact that yeah, she's been added to this particular role would definitely inform what her character will be doing. So he will not just be playing the mortal wife of Henry Cavill's character McLeod, but there is the potential that she would actually, bring on board some action, chops to it. Obviously, if you have Chad Stahelski directing this particular production, you can be rest assured that it will be packed with a lot of action, having come from a stunt background, and having seen what his company 8711 Entertainment has done with John Wick, and then Nobody 2 releasing quite recently. You can attest to the fact that there would be some action set pieces that will possibly blow our mind. This time around, not with guns, but with swords. So it will be quite interesting to see. And not just that, but the interesting aspect is that when you watched the Highlander, the ones in the past, the 86 one and the other ones following, most of the storyline was set in within the period pieces of the 1500s and back then. So it's quite interesting that if you check what he has said concerning this one that he's working on, his focus is to move it to the present day and explore how Henry Cavill's character, with that of Russell Crowe and Dave Bautista, and now with the addition of Karen, Masa Abela, and then also Karen, Gillan to this particular production. You realize that they will be exploring how swordmen would exist in a world where swords are not a regular feature in battle. Perhaps, even we don't see much of samurais in our present day culture in terms of film. So because even with samurais and ninjas and all that, most of the films you see them in, they either live within the bubble of their world, or maybe quite recently, a couple of years ago, they did one about the ninja assassin. So that kind of stories haven't really been explored that much. So it'll be quite interesting to see how bringing the storyline from the period piece to the current day will be quite interesting to watch. The question would be whether other weapons will be employed aside the swords. and that'll be quite interesting to see in that regard. And I think it is going to be an exciting movie, seeing that if you want to even imagine how a Highlander will feel like, at least we've had a little taste of Henry Cavill being in The Witcher, which he also, used swords in that particular world. So a little bit of what Henry Cavill did, at least, will give us has already given us a taste as to how Highlander will be like. But this time around, he's not going to be the warlock or wizard or that he was in the Witcher, but this time around, an immortal, a Scottish immortal from back, the day. And I remember watching the film back then, way back in the 90s, and I'll be honest, I don't my thoughts on it's a little fuzzy, but the one thing I can always remember is how you be sitting on the edge of your seat and you are praying that MacLeod is not killed, because more often than not, the people he faces or he battles, his enemies, who are also immortals, are very formidable. And if you know the storyline, at the end of the day, there has to be only one. So if you are an immortal and you have to fight, you have to fight your opponent and one must remain. And it is quite an interesting spectacle watching it back then, and to have Chad Stahelski, taking the reins on this project will be quite interesting. And I'm sure he's going to explore certain fighting styles that will be very different from what we saw in the 1986 and the previous versions. So I'm excited in particular, and to bring this cream of actors together, and Dave Bautista. I don't know about you, but personally, I have watched the acting career of Batista for a while, since the Man with the Iron Fist, the one directed by Riza. And if you watch his acting progress, he has really, really improved so much, so much. And he is indeed a talented actor. So to make him the villain of this particular franchise or movie is exciting, because he's going to bring his A game. And all the actors involved now are spectacular, are spectacular. And to have Karen join, I know for sure, even though she is mortal, the potential of her acrobatic abilities to be used in the film, which would differ from that particular character in the 1986 version, is very, very possible. And knowing Chad Stahelski, you would want to put some, action set pieces that would blow our minds. I'm sure he may amp the game with regards to, in terms of the fighting or action pieces, he may want to amp it even higher than what he has done in the John Wick franchise. And that alone is something, I think a lot of people are looking forward to see, because Henry Cavill himself he's a good action star. If you watch Immortal, if you watch even Mission Impossible, when he had to clock his arm just to fight Tom Cruise, that was exciting on its own. And what we saw in Superman, and so it has a lot to offer. This particular project, looking forward to it. It has a lot to offer, and for me, as a film fan, having watched the Highlander from the past and what is going to be done now, it excites me a lot. And all the actors in there are excellent actors. I don't know the direction and where he's going to go, but the little I know is that it's going to be set in the modern era, and the modern era presents a whole lot of possibilities. AI, social media. How is it going to work? Social media, AI, and even guns. Are they going to be hunted down by police officers or the governments of the day? There's so much possibility that is packed in the timeline that this particular Highlander will be set in. So for me, I'm excited about it. I don't know what you think. What do you think about Karen Gillan joining the wonderful cast already of the Highlander? What do you think? Is she going to bring to board her own, Do you think Chad would also be looking at her performing some action sequences and that would differ from the ones in the past? Whatever you think about this particular addition to the Highlander with Karen Gillan, kindly leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. So, in current times, social media has become something inseparable from our lives and business today. And social media, even though it's not been around for so long a time, at least we are counting somewhere 2 decades. But TikTok, who seems to have been the recent addition to the social media in the social media space, has indeed grown so fast and has become so influential in our everyday life, in everything that we do. And not just that, but it's also very influential when it comes to film marketing. And recently, particularly this year, the Cannes Film Festival organized together with TikTok brought a number of influencers to be part and parcel of the event and were given unrestricted access to all that was happening behind the scenes on the red carpet. And as a result of that, coming out of that, the discussions have been ongoing as to how influential can these influencers be to bring back, audiences into the cinemas. And this story is captured in the Variety article, and it says that TikTok creators caught film fans, but can they drive audiences back into cinemas? So at Edinburgh International Film Festival, TikTok creators argued authenticity and passion can move audiences off their phones and into theaters. But whether that promise scales remains uncertain. And this is written by Callum McClennan. So it says that TikTok's reach into theatrical film marketing was part of the closing industry panel at this year's Edinburgh International Film Festival. At a woman with a movie account, TikTok UK's public figures lead, Beatrice Mastosia, pardon me, I hope I haven't butchered the name, opened. These guys have a track record of democratizing fandom and turning that into a career. The panel consisted of film content creators Meg Hughes, Indigo Stafford, and Jamilo Muhammad. Yeah, I see people going to the cinema because of recommendations I've given. Irish creator and aspiring director Meg Hughes told Variety after the event, I don't just tell people they should see it in cinemas. I explain why that film deserves to be seen there. For Hughes, TikTok is not just a stepping stone to filmmaking, but a potential tool for preservation. If you can get that passion, if you can utilize creators like myself who want to keep this industry thriving and booming and growing and glowing and seeing cinema staying open, she said. So numbers partially back her up. A TikTok commissioned US survey of 446 users found that 73% who discovered a film on the app went on to watch a trailer, 42 looked up show times, and 36% bought a ticket. TikTok commissioned a live ramp meta-analysis of 34 UK film campaigns found an average box office lift of 23.5% plus for films with TikTok ad exposure, along with plus 21.2% uplift in incremental audience reach. While striking, these figures reflect platform-driven campaigns rather than organic efforts exemplified by Hughes. Authenticity, Hughes argued, is what drives trust. If your film is a certain genre, find a creator who matches what the film represents. Don't just go for someone with numbers. She pointed to how comedian Eva Victor, whose feature Sorry Baby played the festival out of comp, has used TikTok to shape a creative voice, and how Ryan Coogler's aspect ratio explainers drew millions of views. Possibly the way forward is more of that, opening up the conversation. Hey, this is how we did it. Fellow panelists echoed the point. Journalist turned creator Indigo Stafford noted how TikTok audiences wanted contextual decoding of Netflix's adolescence. Jamilu Mohammed described her enduring click flick fandom videos as proof that conversational engagement, not disposable virality, keeps fans coming back. What exhibitors and studios still lack causal data on is whether this enthusiasm consistently converts to ticket sales. But that is true of most marketing campaigns. For now, niche film creators getting millions of views after offer Hollywood a double promise. They can speak with authenticity to their audiences and have confidence or those audiences may indeed step into cinemas. Whether that promise holds at scale remains to be seen. So that is quite an interesting article, I must say. And to be honest, back in the early 2000s and the 90s and way back, the pop culture icons or stars were actually the movie stars and the music stars. But with the advent of social media, it looks like there's been a shift where now, as it stands, a lot of the pop cultural icons or stars are actually the social media influencers. And to an extent, they wield so much influence that if you check a number of the things happening now, the social media influencers are those who weigh, the public opinion. They are able to influence public opinion, weigh the sway and all that. And it's quite interesting. And some of the things I've come to realize that a lot of people spend more time on the phone, even more than that which they watch on a computer or even a TV screen. And that has trickled down into cinema or film or theaters, where people will prefer to even be on their phones than watch TV screens. If you watch a lot of film pundits who go to cinemas a lot, they even complain about how in the cinemas, whilst in the dark and everybody's supposed to focus on the silver screen, people end up still being on their phones. And then obviously the light from the phone distracts a lot of people. So it has become some sort of a place that you cannot separate from the lives of people to an extent, which is, this platform may not be the platform to discuss, but a lot of people are literally addicted to their social media handles, and they are so engrossed and engaged in whatever they watch every single day. And now the challenge is whether, particularly after the pandemic, where numbers to the cinemas have dwindled so much, audiences to the cinemas have dwindled. The recent research stated that in 2019, thereabouts, there were about 8 or so $1 billion films. And now you can't even have $2 billion films in a year. And this year, I think the only $1 billion films in the US in particular, and maybe even the world over, we have Lilo and Stitch, which has made $1 billion. And then in China, reports as that Neza 2 has made close to $2 billion. Other reports also say $2.2 billion. So the effect and the impact of social media can be felt everywhere, aside also the pandemic issues together with some strikes and all that. So the question is that would they indeed be able to influence people back into the cinemas? And it seems that to an extent it is actually happening. You realize that a lot of filmmakers now, after they release their films or they are on their marketing campaign to release their films, they resort to talking to a lot of influencers, even to the extent that they do marketing style, video skits with them just to promote their films. So you have Cavill Lam, who is from Italy, the most influential TikToker, appearing in marketing promos for even Avengers, Bad Boys, and it runs through. You have Rankugla being interviewed on certain platforms, and on and on and on. Previously, you have the studios employing the big marketing campaign machinery just to, pay huge sums of money to get that done. But now it looks like they've realized that the influence that these TikTok or social media personalities wield are so powerful that they've resorted to working with them. And that is actually an interesting thing to do, and actually one of the wisest, because a lot of the followers of these influencers will listen to them if they advise them to do something. And you can even tell there was quite recently where a lot of people were engaged in certain activities that was causing them harm just because they've seen maybe an influencer do it or something, they follow in that same suit, even to the extent that some people in some cases lost their lives. So that is how powerful and influential this social media personnel, have, or they wield. And I think that having seen that, the studios are capitalizing on that and to make sure that they can get a lot of people to go there. And one of the key factors is this: whether we accept it or not, some people don't even watch TV again. So for them to see trailers of films on a TV screen, sometimes even on a PC, may be difficult. But the fact that they're able to promote these trailers online on social media platforms would get those who may barely see it actually see it on these social media platforms. So social media now has become a big deal. But as to whether the influencers can get, and I mean, most of them to go and watch the films, that may vary depending on various factors, whether economic or whether time factor, or whether it's just per the choice. Because as it stands now, not only are films finding it difficult competing with other content, but the major content films are competing with is the social media kinds of skits and films. Whether we like it or not, people will sit down and watch a lot of skits, funny skits, films, social media platform films, and all that. So there's a serious competition, the world over, cinemas competing with social media. So it's quite an interesting thing to do. But it looks like one way or the other, these influencers like Meg Hughes have been able to, at least the data proves, as we read, that as a result of publicizing or promoting films on social media, the using a small sample size, though, it shot up by 20 plus percent and 30 plus percent. So there is some form of data to prove that indeed that is the case. But on the larger scale, whether that can reflect across board globally, that is something that we are yet to see. There's still 4 more months to go. And with this conversation that I've started, I'm sure they will be monitoring to see that between now and the end of the year, how influential will TikTok influencers be in moving, audiences back to the cinemas. And I think it is quite something to really pay attention to. So let me know what you think. Do you think TikTok influencers or social media, influencers in general have that potential to wield a lot of, or to convince a lot of people to get back into the cinemas? Whatever you think about this article, kindly leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. So, having done the issue of social media influencers, one of the things you can attest to, regardless of whether you want to believe it or not, some of the most influential people in today's world are musicians. And it looks like, in as much as film stars or actors wield influence, perhaps even the musical icons wield them more. And one of such influential music icons, not just having lovers of his music, but also having a lot of followers on his social media platform, is none other than Burna Boy, the Afro pop, African giant musician who has been, dropping, bangers after bangers, or music, hits after hits. And interestingly enough, I'm sure you're wondering, why am I talking about Burna Boy, who is a musician, on a film pundit platform? Well, he has debuted with his first film as an executive producer, and you should watch the trailer. The movie is called Three Cold Dishes. So let's just take a quick look at an article that captures the story of Burna Boy debuting as executive producer in Pan-African film Three Cold Dishes. The Grammy-winning Nigerian singer Damini Agulu, popularly known as Burna Boy, has ventured into filmmaking with his debut role as an executive producer on Three Cold Dishes, a Pan-African thriller from Spaceship Films, Entertainment or Film. So that's him in your picture, in the picture. That's him in the picture. Grammy-winning Nigerian singer Demini Ogulu, popularly known as Burna Boy, has ventured into filmmaking with his debut role as an executive producer on Three Cold Dishes, a Pan-African thriller from Spaceship Films. The movie, which is scheduled for a December 2025 premiere, tells the story of three women who, after surviving trafficking, reunite years later to seek justice. According to the producers, the project was shot across Nigeria, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, and Mauritania, and features a diverse African cast. The film also blends English, French, and Yoruba languages to reflect the continent's cultural richness. Three Cold Dishes marks Burna Boy's first official entry into cinema, bringing with it themes of resilience, revenge, and African storytelling. Industry observers note that the project could signal a new phase for the singer, who is now expanding his influence beyond music into broader creative industries. And this is written by Musa Adekunle. Musa Adekunle. So yeah, I mean, not just music. Now he's ventured into movies, and I think this is one of this is really good for not just Nollywood or Nigeria, but Africa. You know, just as the article said, he executive produced a Pan-African film, so it involves a lot of Africa. So the film was shot whilst they were globetrotting across four African countries. And not just that, but I like the multilingual nature of the film itself. As a matter of fact, if you watch the trailer, you'll be amazed. It has action packed. I would actually do a review on it and post it out there, but the trailer it is out of the norm. I mean, it is one of the African films that you can say it stands out from the lot when it comes to action set pieces and the theme of the film itself. It's something else, and there's something about it. The score. But let's dial back. Let's talk about how I think Burna Boy being now venturing into films is actually a good thing for Africa. Burna Boy is, if I'm not mistaken, I think he's the most popular film, is the most popular music artist from Africa now. And not just that, but also a global giant. A global giant, especially in the genre of Afropop. And one of the things that films actually need is how, being able to get a person with such vast influence to be able to rally a lot of audience into the cinema to watch such. Quite recently, Stormzy, also from the UK, Ghanaian born, no, a UK born Ghanaian, also did a short film and is actually also venturing into films as well. For him, he starred in the movie, but Burna Boy is an executive producer to this movie. And the fact that he's a musical icon with such influence in the music scene, it bodes well for the film itself. And not just that, but beyond that, would expose a lot of people who may otherwise not even watch African films to get to watch African films just because of him and his music. So it is indeed a good idea to have them enter into this foray of of a film. And definitely, him being a music icon and a musician would definitely do or produce a music for this film. And obviously, most of his music now are hits. So definitely, if it follows in the same vein where it ends up being a hit, those who watch the films will get to hear the song, or those who hear the song will get to know that, oh, this song is actually part of the film. So it will be quite interesting to see how it pans out, how his followers will get to watch the film, and I hope he will actually be on the promotional tours as well. I mean, he's quite a busy person, so I'm not sure he's going to be on the tour throughout. Even whether he's even going to be on it even at all. But I think him being on, maybe doing one or two interviews with regards to promoting the movie could wield a lot of impact on the film. And I'm hoping that it gets some international releases, because the film, from the trailer itself, it looks really good. And to have him as well as an executive producer, that alone is really massive. I don't know whether he played a cameo role in the production itself, but I like the idea of them having globe trotted or Africa trotted and shot in four African countries. And not just that, but the multilingual nature of the film itself lends it to be very successful in the marketplace, seeing that not only is it shot in four countries, but also they are speaking English, and French is also being used, as well as Yoruba. So they are capturing both the Anglophone, the Francophone, and the Nigerian markets as it is. So for those who may not know much about how Africa is factioned, is such that there are Anglophone countries and then Francophone countries. So with the advent of this nature of the film, it's going to help bring together a lot of people to watch it. Obviously, it's also subtitled, or it's going to be subtitled. So my hopes is that this film gets the needed release, particularly in Africa, and hopefully in the international markets, whether America and other places. So the film itself looks good. It's action packed, it's driven, and you would have to watch the trailer for yourself to judge whether what I'm saying is true. It may not be for everyone, because I think the rating may be in the possibly R rated, because it has to do with violence, kidnapping, and there are things, some sex scenes in there. I don't know whether they are stark nudity or gross, gory violence, but from the trailer, the little I've seen, it has that, guns, shooting, and all that. So obviously, it may not be, it's not a four quadrant film for everyone, or a family friendly film. Definitely for those above 16 or 18, whichever rating is actually given to it. But it looks good. The scenes, or the shots are beautiful. The wide shooting of the landscapes, it's spectacular. You need to watch it for yourself to judge. But one thing I can say for sure, that I'm happy that we have Burna Boy joining or coming to the venture of films. An example is you have Jay-Z also. For those who may not know, Leonardo DiCaprio's The Great Gatsby, Jay-Z, Sean Carter was actually also a producer, an executive producer of that film. So this is nothing new, but for us Africa, for those of us in Africa, it's quite exciting to have one major giant in the music industry, having a foray into the film industry as well. And for me, it excites me a lot. So that is quite an interesting thing to note, having seen that now Burna Boy, who is not just an influential musician, is now into also executive producing a film as well. And honestly, personally, I'll be looking forward to it. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think having heard this story with Burna Boy being an executive producer, does it make you want to watch the film itself? Whatever your thoughts may be, kindly leave it in the comment section below. Even though this wraps up my three stories for the day, you know that today being a Friday, I'm not going to leave you go without telling you what is showing in the cinemas this weekend. So, starting from Ghana, we'll go to the Silver Bird Cinemas to check what they have for us. And in the Silver Bird Cinemas this weekend, you have Red Sonja. Sonja, that's the name. Actually, going to premiere today. Actually, yeah, August 22nd. So it's going to premiere today in the Silverbird Cinemas, whether in the Accra Mall or the West Hills Mall in Ghana. So for those who are in Ghana, you can get to watch Red Sonja. And you also have Nobody 2, which actually has already premiered last week. And then you have Revelations, which stars RMD, one of Africa's finest, actors. I think is one of the finest, if not the best, actors in Africa in Revelations. And you also have Freakier Friday and a whole lot of other films which are in the cinemas as well. And in September 12th, you also be having Demon Slayer, one of Japan's successful, breaking all the box office in Japan, would be screening in Ghana on September 12th as well. So there are so many other films as well there, and Ghanaian comedy, A Kiss Too Late. So I'll leave the link in the comment section below so that you can check it out if you want to go and watch any film to entertain yourself over the weekend. So moving on from the Silverbird Cinema, let's check what is potentially screening all over the world. So wherever you may be, I'm sure if there's a cinema around you, one of these films may be screening. So we start with Honey Don't, which will also be premiering today. So let's check all the films that are premiering today. And Neza 2 finally seems to be having a release in, I think it's actually going to be a re-release, I'm sure, in China, but in other global centers as well, global cinemas as well. Eden, Relay, and Splitsville, and Trust. We also have Leka, and then We Are Not Safe Here. And The 40-Year-Old Virgin is re-releasing, which stars Steve Carell. So that will be quite interesting to see. And then Trainwreck also is re-releasing. So these two comedies will be re-releasing in the cinemas. I'm sure selective cinemas. For the re-release, they are just selective cinemas. So yeah, but there are a lot more films also on the Rotten Tomatoes platform that you can go and check it out and see where they may be screening closer to you. So all too soon, I've come to an end of today's The Film Mandate, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. And thanks so much for joining me for this episode of The Film Mandate. As usual, just to make you aware, I have started live streaming, and I'll stream from 11:45 p.m. GMT from Sunday to Thursday into Friday. So you can join me from 11:45 p.m. GMT from Sunday to Thursday into Friday, and let's talk movie. So all too soon, I've come to an end, and thanks so much for joining me. I'll be coming your way on Monday. However, watch out for any trailer reactions during the weekends to check out what I have in store for you. So I'll come your way again on Monday, and this has been The Film Mandate. My name is Paapa Otu. I'll see you soon.